Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today, Helldivers 2 just got a massive update. Honestly, probably the biggest update we've ever seen them do. And I just wanted to go over the entire thing and give my first impressions before we stream it all later on and fully test everything. Usually there's a whole bunch of hidden changes, and I also have notes for pretty much every weapon to just quickly bounce through everything. So we always do that every single update, just like we do a balance feedback form. But the balance feedback is going to be in a couple of days where we just go over it all together on stream. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. But for now, we're going to light this off with the blog portion of the patch notes. That way we can see their perspective and why they wanted to make all these different changes. Helldivers, John Palstad here, now Chief Creative Officer position at Arrowhead. First, I want to thank you, the community, for clearly voicing your opinions and concerns for balance and fun of the game. With that, we've gone over a lot of the weapon and stratagem balance in our latest patch 1.04, and we wanted to share with you a little more information on the decisions we made. With the balance changes, we wanted to buff up some of the weaker stratagems to make them more viable and add more opportunity for variety and loadouts. We also changed a few to make them more consistent, but the goal is to keep a similar or higher power level. So hopefully that means no nerfs as we progress through it. We are looking at the stratagems more to see if there are any other stratagems that might need some buffs or changes to make them more viable. We also want to explain why we're making the changes we do so you can follow our thinking. The rocket sentry, the old intent was to saturate area with rockets. When you had 4 rocket sentries, it was pretty fun, but it made it too inconsistent against medium and larger enemies. We wanted to make it more consistent against medium and larger. This is my favorite word in the world, consistent, because this game has been inconsistent since like that March 6th update. This is the best. I'm already feeling good. This is the only word I wanted to read. So against medium and larger enemies, they wanted to give it a better ammo economy to separate it from the autocannon sentry, which has a higher damage output, but waste ammo by shooting targets that are already dead. Then the machine gun sentry felt like a worse version of the gatling sentry. We wanted it to have a different place in the toolbox. We lowered the cooldown to make it more available and more useful when changing positions often. So as a turret enjoyer, this is pretty good news for me just in general, because it's really fun to have turrets up like all the time. Like, it just, in general, when you bring 3 turrets, it feels good. So maybe having this up all the time will feel better. And I guess we'll see the changes after. So the machine gun sentry, the gatling sentry, the rocket sentry, all the sentries, basically, they're getting killed a little bit too easily by bullets flying chaotic situations. We've increased their durability factor of the turrets to make them more resistant to small arms fire. I hope this means that they're more resistant to rockets coming out of like rocket devastators, because that was like the real problem. And then like a charger charging into them would just like one-shot them. Maybe it's okay if the charger one-shots them, but the real problem was just rockets flying into them and one-shotting them. The HMG replacement is intended to be a way of defending a fixed position with maximum democracy per second, by the way. But due to its immobility and drawback that it presents, the slow rotation speed was a bit much of a drawback. Therefore, we increased the rotation speed significantly. I wonder how much, and I wish they just added all the ship modules to it, but I guess we'll find out after. Both the minefields are supposed to be a strong but volatile way of blocking certain approaches for a limited time. They're currently not very good at filling this role and will be looked at in the future. For now, we're increasing their damage to improve the effectiveness that triggers them. If you struggle with minefields, just take a scythe or like a laser pistol, and you can just burn them all out, even like through walls. Orbital gatling barrage was not effective at dealing with any specific target. True. We wanted it to be better at saturating an area and also able to do damage against heavy armored units. It's still not very likely to outright kill heavily armored targets, but should be able to soften them up a bit. We also lowered the cooldown to make it more available and to make more competitive in comparison to Eagle stratagems. So the thing about Gatling, orbital Gatling barrage, if you brought 2 of them, it was like perfect before, right? You just had to throw them both at the same time. So we'll see what they changed. Orbital Precision Strike's original intent was to be used against spawners in fixed positions. However, this hasn't stopped the community from using it against pretty much everything. I've been using this thing like crazy, pretty much, I don't know, for a while. Therefore, we wanted to make it a little bit easier to use against moving targets by lowering the call-in time. We also lowered the cooldown to make it more available and to make it more competitive in comparison to Eagle stratagems. Perfect. Orbital Airburst was to block an area for short duration. I figured that would have been the idea of the Gatling Barrage, but and kill almost all the non-heavy armored targets in the area, but it was underperforming compared to the other anti-chaff options and had a very low rate of use. To make it more attractive option, lowered the cooldown, which should also make it... There's no way. Dude, I have a 4,277 kill game to post where all of us use that. Where'd my thing go? Oh, those are the actual patch notes. Okay, we got to go through the blog first. I want to know, see, the reason I want to go through the blog first mainly too is because I want to know their intention before I read the buffs and nerfs so I don't get angry. So lower cooldown on Airburst Strike is Crazy. By the way, it's just crazy, but it's good. I guess buffs are W's. The 110 rocket pods were inconsistent dealing with its main target and heavily armored enemies. That's an understatement. The changes to aim make it more consistent in dealing with these targets, but it will not be a surefire way to just kill them. It will always, however, soften a target up in some way. Consistent, always. That's all it needed. It was okay before if it hit. So now if it's always going to hit, that's good. We're interested in hearing feedback how this feels, so that's something we'll have to test. Again, we'll go test all this stuff later on stream. Eagle Strafing Run is supposed to be a tool effectively deal with small groups of medium armored enemies. To that end, we increase its armor penetration to reliably penetrate medium armor targets and soften up heavy armor targets. We expect to tweak this further in the future. As with Eagle rocket pods, we're very interested in your feedback. Hopefully, this has a cooler sound too. On Twitter, he said he was going to make it sound cooler. That's what I'm all about. Grenade launcher was intended for softening up hordes while providing utility for destroying spawners. It's good at destroying spawners. Explosion was weak. True. Increased explosion damage in a better place to deal with hordes and more effective against some medium enemies. That's always good. The heavy machine gun failed to deliver the fantasy of a heavy machine gun, basically because you had to reload every 2 seconds, but it had a weak round with low damage and impact. The fire rate was up in levels, more likely seen on smaller MGs. The HMG is intended to be a great option to deal with medium armored enemies and should chew them up easier, similar to the HMG emplacement. Okay, we're lowering the rate of fire further to resemble the rate of fire of contemporary weapons and increase the damage and stagger. Okay, this should make it make sure the available ammo lasts longer. I think the problem is it just needed more ammo, so we'll see later. Regular machine gun should be a great crowd clearing weapon to tackle medium armored enemies. The drawbacks of the machine gun are that you have to sit still while reloading. You should be able to reload this thing while moving. Therefore, we want to lean into its strengths and reduce its drawbacks to slightly improve the value of proposition of the weapon. To that end, we're lowering the reload time and giving it an additional magazine. It's all receiving a buff to the damage described below. Okay. The regular machine gun, all the gatlings, basically, the family of machine gun stratagems, 8mm rifle were underperforming slightly and therefore have increased damage. Awesome. Durable damage for rifle calibers. So all the rifles are getting their damage increased for durable. That's good, because that was one of their main problems. That was one of the main things we complained about, and one of the main changes we wanted for the Tendy Tickler was to be able to have more durable and limb damage. Specifically, to have more limb damage. So we'll see how that goes. Durable body parts in general are body parts that have high amounts of mass with non-vital organs or a lot of empty space. The idea is to simulate a single bullet has a high chance of not dealing significant damage. In general, the higher caliber weapon, the better effect it is against durable body parts. Explosions also have very high effectiveness against durable body parts, so the shockwaves ripple through whatever you're hitting. Some weapons are more effective than others. Okay. The Adjudicator, wild recoil with no room for error, which didn't feel good. It just had no ammo. The recoil really wasn't that bad. Increase in magazine capacity increase magazine capacity and I guess sure. The Tenderizer was released in a non-representative state as it had incorrect stats. It didn't have its own niche and felt like a worse Liberator. Honestly, I thought it was better than the Liberator versus the bots because it was like pinpoint accurate, but we're restoring justice and bringing it back to its intended design, which is a very precise assault rifle that rewards high accuracy play by having a heavy hitting round that doesn't penetrate armor. Okay. Purifier, to create a Scorcher with a charged up mechanic. Unfortunately, since the projectile didn't have armor peen against medium peen enemies, even a direct hit didn't deal enough damage to justify its long charge up time. By increasing the armor peen and projectile, reducing the fall off damage radius of the explosion, we hope to make it an exotic option is viable in capable hands. We use this in a 4-man and it just CC'd everything to death. So like if 4 people bring this now and it's like doing what it's supposed to, it's going to cook. This is going to be like a really solid weapon. Crossbow, similar to the Purifier, the crossbow's bolt didn't always deal its full damage to the explosion, having low armor penetration of the projectile. Making the projectile and explosion penetrate medium armor should make the crossbow more consistent against medium-sized targets and increase its AoE viability. OG crossbow had really good AoE, so as long as if the AoE is back to where it was, the crossbow is always going to be like good at horde clear. So if it has medium peen, it's going to be solid. Eruptor. In one of the previous patches, we removed the shrapnel from the explosion as been spike damage too much for the primary weapon. Even for a support weapon, its theoretical max was over 9,000. Not really. We calculated this, and it would have only been able to do like 1,500 total extra damage. There was 15 pieces of shrapnel that could come out of it. Each piece of shrapnel did a total of 100 damage. But anyways, and introduce some unexpected interactions. We acknowledge that the Eruptor lost a good portion of its capabilities and the additional damage boost didn't make up for the loss of shrapnel. That could have been obvious to anybody who played the game for like 5 seconds. Just go shoot it like one target. Anyways, Adding shrapnel back is tricky because of the low visibility of shrapnel. It just it's like a hit scan thing. It's super fast, but we pause it. You can slowly track it. It has like 3 or 4 frames where it's on screen. This sometimes created a situation where you or your fellow Helldivers died with very little feedback of what killed you. To compensate that, we're giving the Eruptor 150 more damage. They're not giving it any more shrapnel. I still want shrapnel back. Updated recoil stance modifiers. The intention of our recoil modifiers is to reduce usage of different stances in relation to weapon types. They're also there to highlight that constantly moving around isn't doing your accuracy any favors. We made some changes to the recoil stance modifiers to make them more consistent and also being more prone more. The percentages below show how much the weapons recoil new values. So third person standing, no change, moving 150. So basically if you're moving, this seems like a massive change. Oh, this is a massive change. So accuracy is going to go way down. Yeah. So the main reason I wanted to read the blog portion first was to get an idea of what I was about to be angry about. So hopefully this gives you a little more insight on how and why we make changes that we did. I want to end this by saying that we're not done. We will continue to refine and improve the play experience to keep the game fresh. On behalf of the team, we appreciate your feedback and hope that you'll have an exciting time checking these adjustments out. Happy Helldiving. So this seemed really good at a first glance. So now here's the real patch notes, okay? Overview. For this patch, some of the major areas of interest are visible supply lines, attack origins, and galactic war. I hate things that remove you from games. So removing us from the game for supply lines sucked, and this is just good. Stratagem, weapon, planet, and enemy balancing updates, solid. Various crash fixes, stability improvements, and other updates. Okay. Invite-only lobby creation, the most right option. Hopefully that the invite-only lobby creation is like actually good, because I don't like being, I just want like a solo option. If I want to play alone, I want to play alone. I don't want to be able to accidentally SOS. That sucks. But this is good. In general, these are good. So we'll see what happens here. I did log in already to see like if the war bond was out or whatever. So the stability improvements that in the ship, you're still getting a massive memory leak. I had to like close my game right away. So I'll have to figure that out later. So balancing. The goal was stratagem balance of this patch. With these balance changes, we wanted to buff up some of the weaker strats to make them more viable. We already read that earlier. So the actual rocket sentry buffs. Decrease spread. I didn't really know it had spread. Prioritize larger targets. It was already supposed to prioritize large targets, but it just wasn't prioritizing large targets. It would just shoot like Wilburs. So increase the target distance from 75 to 100. Good buff. Decrease rockets per salvo 2 to 1. Better ammo economy. I've never seen a single rocket sentry ever dump all of its ammo, but that's okay. Increased explosion radius from 1 meter to 4 meters. That seems really good. So it's going to be good at horde clear. And it's going to be good at like everything. So rocket sentry is a must take for the turret builds now. Decreased explosion armor penetration and explosions can no longer damage heavy armored enemies. The projectile still has enough AP to damage. So you're basically just purely relying on the projectile, but it does 200 to 300 damage now. So like that's really good. It's only like a handful of rockets to kill basically every target in the game, right? So that's really good as long as it shoots the same spot. This one's going to take some testing. We'll go over that on stream later. Machine gun sentry, reduce cooldown from 180 to 120. Not enough in my opinion. This should be like a 90-second cooldown probably. Machine gun sentries, like even after the buffs, probably still going to be great. Increased durability damage from 0 to 80. Oh, increased its durability from 0 to 80%. Yeah, I don't know. If it's not getting like durable damage, we'll see. We'll see later on if this is getting mega buffs or not. Increased durability from 0 to 80%. Again, we have to see if a rocket one-shots it or not, if it's actually good. HMG emplacement rotation speed by 100%. It looks like they only buffed the rotation speed by 100%. They didn't go ahead and give it all the ship module upgrades. That's okay. Anti-personnel minefield, 250 to 300 or 350, and increase 150 to 210. This was all fire damage anyways, so we'll see how this works out. Never really used the mines in the first place unless we were memeing trying to like kill each other, so we'll see how that goes. Orbital gatling. This is a big one. Okay. Increase fire rate by 25%, increase rounds per salvo from 30 to 60. So this is like when you bring 2 now. That's what I said earlier. If you bring 2, this is it. So this is viable by itself now, automatically. Increased armor penetration can damage heavily armored targets. Decrease cooldown from 80 to 70. So this was already good. This was a team strat before. Like you'd have to bring 4 people would have to bring it, or like 2 and like you would throw 2 and 2. And we were doing this on stream quite a bit. So now that you can bring it alone, like if 2 people throw this at the same time, that's an entire area denial every minute. This is massive. This is going to be like a super meta pickup against the bugs for sure. And with the increased armor pen, it might even be good against the bots. This is probably like the biggest strat change. Like this probably brings the orbital gatling barrage from like C or B tier up to like S tier. This is going to be like amazing now because it was already good when you brought 2. So with like these buffs, it's going to be even better. This is awesome. This is awesome. Orbital Precision Strike, decrease cooldown from 100 to 90 seconds, 10-second cooldown, that's always good. Decrease spawn calling time from 4 to 2 seconds. And then 100% to 2. Okay, yeah, so with the extra calling time, it'll be 4 seconds anyways. Orbital Air Burst, decrease from 120 to 100. Dude, orbitals are now Eagle 110. While these changes may look like a straight up nerf, this is not the intention. Please read the blog post for more information. That's why we read the blog post first. That way we could understand what the changes were supposed to be, or the reasonings behind them. Improved targeting, increased projectile armor penetration. Now does 100% damage to heavily armored enemies instead of 50%. Okay. Decreased projectile damage from 600 to 250 to compensate for the improved targeting with extra damage from the armor penetration. This is probably overall for the better. And decreased explosion armor penetration can no longer damage explosion. So I didn't even know they could blow up. I didn't even know they had an explosion radius. But in general, I mean, like this is probably as long as the targeting's better and it actually hits, this is going to be huge because 3 come out. So instead of being able to do 1800 damage, it'll do 750. I still don't think that's enough to kill a Bile Titan in one shot, but it didn't. They said they didn't want it to one shot them. They said it wanted to be a soften up tool. So see how it works. Eagle Strafing Run increases use 3 to 4. I think that this should just be on like a 15 to a 30-second cooldown or something with no total uses. But anyways, increased armor pen and can now damage heavily armored enemies. He did say on Twitter he wanted to make it sound cooler. So that's one of the first things we're going to test today is see if it sounds cooler. Grenade launcher, increased explosion damage from 350 to 400. Okay. Heavy machine gun, projectile damage from 100 to 150. So 50 damage per machine gun shot. Increased projectile damage against durable body parts. 10% increase. Decreased fire rate. Damn, that you can shoot this thing super slow. 450, 600, 750. I usually left it on 750s. This can be interesting. I wonder... I don't know. That's weird. I wonder what 600 is going to feel like. Decreased reload time from 7 to 5.5. They also added an animation cancel for this a little while back. So like this will be a fairly fast reload as long as you have 1 bullet in the magazine. When you reload it, you can reload really fast. And I'm wondering how high the stagger strength is. Like, can you stagger a Hulk? Again, we'll test it all later. Machine gun, decreased reload time from 4 to 3.5. Increased magazines from 3 to 4. This should just be fun to use. Hopefully it just feels better. Machine gun sentry, all the sentries, gatling exosuit. Projectile damage buffed by 10. That's solid. Increased projectile damage against durable from 7.5 to 25%. That's really good. So the normal machine, all these are really good against like light medium. All these are really, really good now. So basically the only thing they can't kill is like chargers and Hulks and like Bile Titans and tanks, right? They just gonna melt everything else. That's awesome. This is great news because machine guns were just okay before. Now they probably just feel good to use. Liberator and Stalwart Guard Dog, projectile damage. So this is all durable damage, right? All durable damage for assault rifles. Magazine for the Adjudicator, durable damage to assault rifles. The Adjudicate, sorry, not the Tendy Tickler is no longer tickling. 60 to 95 damage. Durable body parts, This is what we put in the balance feedback form. This is what we wanted, dude. We wanted durable against body parts because this is just going to feel great now. Decreased ammo capacity, that's okay. Number of magazines, increased stagger strength. Again, I wonder what stagger strength is. I wonder if it's going to be able to like push back like a Brood Commander or something. But 95 damage with 7%. I don't know how good the 7% durable is, but 35 damage a shot on this thing is crazy. It breaks multiple break points now to like 2-shot a whole bunch of targets. It's just going to feel good. The Tendy Tickler is no longer tickling. It's cooking. Purifier, increased projectile armor penetration to be the same as the explosion, decrease explosion damage, fall off. Purifier is going to be good. Explosive crossbow, increased armor penetration to be the same as the projectile. Explosion, increase the explosion armor penetration to be the same as the projectile. That's dope. Increase the demolition strength, can destroy bug holes and bot fabricator buildings. So now you can blow shit up with the crossbow. This is good news. Nothing but good news. Added medium armor penetration tag. Nothing but good news. W crossbow. This thing's going to be great. Eruptor. Increased total damage from 420 to 570 per shot. And then we need another tick here that says shrapnel re-added. And then we're locked in. Diligence. Increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 10 to 25. Still probably never bringing the diligence to anything, to be honest with you. I don't know. The regular diligence just feels bad to use. Updated recoil modifiers. Yeah, the recoil state, we already looked at that. So gameplay, removed the operation modifier A, defenses reduces stratagem slots by 1. We wanted to look over the operation modifiers in the future. Right now, there are too few of them which become repetitive, and the ones we have do not create variety or promote different playstyles. For now, we remove this one because it only encourages the players to bring the best stratagem and does not promote variety. Dude. This is huge. This was the worst thing ever. Just -1 strat. It just purely pushed you into just metagaming the best. Like, you didn't have to bring the best stuff, but the bots were shooting through walls. That's the main thing we want to see changed. The bots not shooting through walls. That's the only fix I want to see outside. This is great though. But now the bots are always 25% cooldown, 50% just, they need to redo modifiers altogether. The modifiers are just bad. They make the game boring and they don't add any difficulty slider at all. And I know they said they want the game to be harder in the future, or they want to make the game difficult. The modifiers are a big reason why the game can never actually be truly hard. Disable the retrieve essential personnel defend mission for the time being. That's fine. It was just annoying. Super samples now spawn in difficulty 6. This is one thing I wanted to see for like casual players. I saw this like as one of the main complaints for like months. So this is just good for casuals. The reason this changed is what we felt the existence only on difficulty 7+, forced some players to play the game on hard difficulty. Yeah, it was just gatekeeping ship modules. The Siege artillery stratagem is no longer blocked by jammers or ion storms. That just makes sense. Enemies in melee range of the gates now attack consistently. That's okay. Added the ability to chat from the in-game menus in the mission loading screen. That's cool. And updated some first-person crosshairs to improve readability. I want to see this in-game. Invite only is now supported. Yep. Armor's new passive, physique, 50 damage, and 30% weapon ergonomics. Planets and hazards, spike plant. The new spike plant that appears on certain planets has been reworked. Dude, that thing, dude, it blows up in one shot. It's so crazy. No longer causes bleed or stamina drain if hit by plants or explosion or spikes. Now pops 3 times, hitting spikes everywhere, dealing increased damage. Fire tornadoes have had their behavior change and should no longer feel like they're actively respond to player movement and should move more randomly. Okay. Well, fire tornado storm takes... I don't know if anybody saw it. Some guy was like shooting them on Reddit and killing them. It was weird. I don't know if that was like a mod or something, but it was weird. Enemy vision is reduced. Player vision unaffected. Okay. Fire tornadoes being more random should result in variance. That's good. Tremors had their spawning tweaked to be more random. Tremors had their epicenter sized and effect increased. These changes should result in more situations where enemies away from the player get stunned, as well as reducing how consistent the player has a tremor occur next to them. Oh, that's good. There are some times where I'd play tremor plants. I wouldn't see a single tremor, so that's cool. The list of planets have been tweaked to be less harsh and dense to provide less fatigue from constantly fighting on planets with bad visibility. We still intend there to be planets with worse visibility, but the balance was a bit off. Desert planets are Rada Prime, Chort Bay, Hellmire, and similar. Dude, it's so hard to see on these planets, it removes from the game. Highlands planets such as Relia 5, Matar Bay, Oshawone, and similar, and artificial light sources had their intensity rebalanced and reduced across the board. The meta was shooting lights for so long. I can't believe we are where we are. Unexploded hell bombs. The unexploded hell bomb that you find randomly just instantly explode with big explosions, but will still have the same delay if hit by small arms fire. That's good. Vegetation is large enough to slow the player, has an extra function. When inside the vegetation, Helldivers will be harder to detect, reducing their detection range by enemies. This effect stacks with other Ooh. So scout armor, crouched, in the bushes, invisible. That's cool. They removed stealth from the game for a while by accident, and I think it's just like pointless to remove a playstyle. Somebody wants to ghost a mission, just let them have fun, right? Acid effects applied by hunters, bug mines now allow you to sprint, but slows you by 30% instead of 50. So 20% reduce on the slow, and now you can sprint, and the duration has been reduced. These changes to make it less punishing for players slowed when fighting the Terminids. That was one of the main complaints about hunters. People were just getting slowed to death, but they probably still going to die to him. It is what it is. Armored enemy balance. We have toned down the amount of heavily armored enemies like Bile Titans, Chargers on higher difficulties, and tend to spawn more hordes of smaller enemies. The difference should be quite noticeable, and the amount should be about at least 30% less. Before, during bug breaches, we also toned down slightly how many Hulks that spawn for the automatons. That's good, because I want to see less Devastators overall and just more soldiers, but their intent was to ease up the demand of anti-tank weapons, and by having more other enemies give better incentive for group play than bring stratagems and weapons to take care of hordes. I mean, that's just good. More enemies is usually harder for most people to deal with, and like small amounts of armored enemies really never is that difficult. Hopefully this is in preparation for a modifier overhaul, but like in general, I don't know. I've already gotten like a couple of DMs. Just I'm just looking over. I just a couple of DMs about like how easy solo is now. So we'll see. Patrols spawning back to 1 point before 1.03. So yeah, solo's kicked. With some slight tweaks so that the levels are less empty if you are far away from important locations with enemy presence. Well, I think in general, like I was one of the only people that was having fun with the mass increase of patrols. But I really think that the patrol thing should be like tier 9 exclusively, and then like anything below the hardest difficulty shouldn't have crazy spawns. Stunning medium and large size enemies, they won't get stunned as easily now. This will affect stratagems that stun, and will most likely just affect how easily the pummeler can stun enemies. Okay. I mean, the pummeler could like lock down pretty much everything, so I guess that's okay. That's the only like negative nerf that I've read so far, is the pummeler can't stun like big things. But like being able to lock down like a charger was weird too. That's not really a big deal. Battle Spear and Nursing Spear. Spears will now get slowed if they lose their legs. Thank God. Spears now puke. Spear's puke now applies the acid effect. Spear puke can now only damage Helldivers 4 times per second, and the Helldiver cannot take damage multiple times from the same projectile. This should reduce the instances where you're instantly killed by it. That's good. Because I remember they nerfed it too hard, and I don't know. Bile's just weird. So Bile Titan's head is slightly less durable against weaker anti-tank weapons. It's not a large change. It will mostly matter for weapons like the railgun. I wonder how good the autocannon is against the Bile Titan head. The Bile Titan's puke can now only damage Helldivers 4 times per second, similar to the other one. You can't take more damage from the same projectile. Damage is still very deadly, so running through their puke is not recommended. Their puke now also has a larger spread. That's fine. Charger Behemoth has now joined the battle on higher difficulties. It also takes more damage than before. This enables us to spawn fewer chargers, but still retain the difficulty. Does this just... So this is the big armored boy. I'm wondering, because it says take more damage. I wonder if that means like it's just going to take like 2 headshots instead of 1 or something. Chargers will now only show bleed out effects from the body. If the bleed out state has started, it can still show bleed out effects from the mouth. I mean, bleed out state on chargers, whatever, right? Hulk Scorcher looks like it's just the same thing. It can't just instantly kill you anymore. So again, we'll go test this out and see if that's true or false. Automaton tanks. The tank value on a front armor has been lowered to be the same as the non-vent sections. So that means that the front is the same as the sides of the tank instead of not the rear. The intent was initially to be more armored in the front, but the visual language did not show that. Okay. The vents on the back of the tank's turrets still have the same armor value as before, but we'll check for explosion directions correctly now. The damage of exploding automaton jump packs has been decreased by 50%. It will still set you on fire. Dude, these used to land on you and one-shot you. It probably still does. All right. Galactic War, introducing supply lines and origin of attacks. Supply lines were previously not shown on the Galactic War map to reduce clutter and improve readability. However, based on the feedback from our community, we had made an implementation to show them on the map. The solution tries to maintain the general readability while still exposing the system and players in game. You'll now be able to see which planet an attack is originating from, potentially allowing for the community to stop the attack at its source. We also updated visuals in the sector and planet info pop-ups. Again, I hate things that remove you from the game, so this is just a big W for me. Like, I don't like having to tab out and go to like a separate website to like look up just where to go. So this is just good. Fixes. The spear target has been reworked and that should now function much better. However, it has lost the ability to target automaton spawners. This is not intended and will be fixed in the future. So I wonder if they just removed the total amount of targets that it could target. We'll have to go in and see. This is going to be the big test tonight when we stream. Big test. Intense hot and cold environments will now affect the Quasar Cannon's reload speed and show the correct in the HUD. Okay, minus 2.5 plus 2.5. It just wasn't showing on the HUD before. Radar pulse that detects enemies on the minimap is now visible. Most automaton weapons have gotten tighter limits to how much projectile they can shoot can deviate from its weapon muzzle's angle. This means that the situation where Devastator shot sideways, oh my god, dude. This should fix so many problems. Because one of the main problems with the Devastators was like the Gatling Devastators, they would shoot sideways, but like that would let them clip their gun through the wall and shoot you pretty much anywhere. This should be the best change this update. Because if they can only shoot their gun straight forward, this makes them so much... This is a huge nerf to them, and this is how it should be. They should not be able to shoot sideways, to be honest. It's just cringe. So, I only hope this stops them from shooting through walls. That's the only thing I hope. Because they have been shooting through walls since that March 6th update. This could be big. We'll see later tonight. The weapons of the exosuits now allowed small adjustments in the angle they fire their projectile versus their muzzle angle. This should make their weapons more accurate. All right, ballistic shield now collides with grenades. Okay. The unlock button should no longer disappear from the social menu. Blocked players can no longer join the blockers lobby through recent players. All right. Fix the bug where enemies killed, missions played, and missions completed stats were not displayed properly. That's all right. Fix the unlimited amount of grenades. Okay. About time. Helldivers now switch the last active weapon when they're out of grenades, fixing the issue where they would be holding a stratagem ball without the stratagem menu being open. That's fine. Fix some text overlap. The burning effect applied to players when a combat walker dies is now a normal burn. The intent is that you should be able to escape it alive, but you will be on fire to the ground. That's fine. The extraction shuttle can no longer take damage, preventing extraction. New high-grade materials directly from Super Earth. Oh, wow, dude. They made their we would throw 380 barrages on the dropship. Just thank God. Because this should make it so that what was happening was a solo person would get on the dropship and it would just fly away with one person. So you'd all have to drop your samples. Only one guy would get out. Sometimes you didn't know. Only one guy would leave. Is what it is. Just good change. On PC, you can now navigate super credits with WSDA. Okay. That's weird. Fix an issue where sample count in missions was incorrectly displayed. Levels no longer generate with blocked areas, preventing player progression. That could happen. Okay. Your ship's bridge is no longer cast in perpetual shadow. Mine had the lights go in and out. It was creepy. Reduce situations where blue stratagems would bounce next to a player detector tower. Thank God. No more bouncy stratagems. The Warbond menu now displays correct emote and victory poses in the thumbnail. Nice. Whatever. Warbond medals caps now displayed in UI. Fixed a bug where Helldivers armor could appear invisible for other people. Refined player reporting UI. Fixed an issue where Helldivers could be launched into the air if close to a Bile Titan or Factory Strider corpse. I have a clip of that. That made me sad as hell. Fix for Factory Striders. Reduce situations where Helldivers could spontaneously die when walking in seemingly walkable valleys in some planets. Yep. Solo no death runs. Hee hee. Fixed a rare issue on Arctic planets where players could spontaneously die to large bodies of water. Fix Pelican -1, sometimes leaving immediately after a player gets on board. Perfect. Lots of crash switches. Known issues. Okay, what didn't they fix? Sending friend requests with friend code, don't work. Players may be unable to join. Okay, that sucks because this is just annoying. Players added the recent player list will appear in the middle of the list. Okay, that's not a big deal. Players may experience delays in the medal or super credit payouts. Okay. Spear target is unable to target automaton spawners. I think that that's okay. I'm not really worried about that. Enemies that bleed out do not progress personal orders and eradicate missions. Okay. Arc weapons sometimes behave inconsistently. It's okay. Most weapons shoot below the crosshair, aiming down the sights. Plasma Punisher is unable to shoot out of the generators. Whatever. Stratagem beam might attach itself to an enemy, but deploy to its original location. Helldivers may be unable to stand up or crouching, surrounded by enemies. Hand carts, ship module, shield backpack, cooldown. Okay. Hand cards doesn't work with shield backpack. Bile Titans sometimes do not take damage to the head. Chargers but do not take damage from explosions. Players may become stuck in the loadout when joining game in progress. Reinforcements may not be available for players when they join a game in progress. Planet liberation reaches 100% at the end of every defend mission. So the same stuff as before. Incorrect recoil values, just whatever. And then the Viper Commandos stuff. We're going to go over the Viper Commandos on stream. It's going to come out a couple hours after this video goes up. So my overall thoughts, feelings, opinions about this, as a first impression, without having logged in, without having played it, just running down the patch notes and just giving my thoughts about everything. These are really good. Were they worth waiting 2 months for? I think that's a toss-up. I think that there's a lot of other things that I want to see changed, like modifiers. Just overall, I wanted to see modifiers changed. I wanted to see things genuinely improving and getting better. I really did. I wanted to see some overhaul on those modifiers. That doesn't even seem like asking for a lot, just spawn double X enemy, just remove the negatives from the players. But just in general, a lot of cool changes, a lot of things I wasn't expecting, a lot of really fun changes to a lot of stratagems that like the orbital gatling barrage. That's going to be like a god tier stratagem now. That's just going to feel amazing to use. It's going to be great area denial, low cooldown. One really fun thing about low cooldown strats is just getting to spam them out feels good. But yeah, let's launch the game and give a first impression of the load-in. It is what it is.